Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of What's Better, Raw or Smackdown, and this is episode 22. Um, and I apologize for getting this video up late, but I'm up in New Hampshire and I didn't end up watching Raw last night because I had to watch other things and I was doing other things because I'm up here for my birthday because I turned 21 at midnight tonight, so I turned 21 in about um, 3.5 hours, which is I'm pretty excited about. Um, So yeah, I'm pretty happy about it. But yeah, so let's just talk about it. I don't necessarily know when this video is gonna get uploaded. The reason being is because we have a terrible snowstorm up here right now, and we lost internet not that long ago, and I have to watch Raw. I'll have to have the internet to be able to watch Raw. So I don't know if I'll be able to watch Raw the entire thing all in one sitting. I may have to watch it in multiple sit-ins, so I apologize for that. Um, but anyhow, let's just get to the show. Um, well, let's just get to this episode. And ironically enough, I've actually been keeping track of overall what's won between Raw and SmackDown. Um, I went and kept score. So the overall score is um, Smack SmackDown has 11 and Raw has 9. So SmackDown is actually overall beaten Raw. So Raw has to have 3 good episodes. Raw has to be better than SmackDown for 3 weeks in a row. If they want to be able to beat SmackDown, ever since I'm counting, by the way, ever since I've started this series. Um, anyways, but yeah, so SmackDown has 11 and Raw has 9. So I will give Raw credit. They did catch up for a while. SmackDown was kicking Raw's ass, but Raw has been able to make a comeback. So let's see if Raw can be better than SmackDown in this episode and this week. Um, let me talk about we have let's see what is going to be better this week because you have they're going to probably try to plug some more WrestleMania angles, and like I talked about in my last episode and also my last video. I'm not all that excited for WrestleMania so far. I just don't think the card looks very good, and I don't really have a lot of interest in a lot of these matches. But I looked at the date for WrestleMania. It's April 2nd of 2017, and the WWE has 3 weeks to hype me for WrestleMania. Um, so let's see if the WWE can do just that in 3 weeks. Because right now it's not looking very promising, but they could do just that. So let's see if the WWE can hype me up for WrestleMania in 3 weeks. And also too, I want to mention too before I go to the next take is WWE actually had a live show in Madison Square Garden, and they had like a lot of good shit on that live show. Like they had Oscar debut. They had Brock Lesnar wrestle Kevin Owens, which was a squash, which I kind of hated. And they even had the return of Finn Balor, and they had a 6-man tag team match between Sami Zayn, Chris Jericho, Finn Balor, and Triple H, Samoa Joe, and Kevin Owens. And I'm just thinking to myself, they were probably filming on 2 different days, but I was just thinking to myself, why didn't they air this stuff? They had the cameras there to begin with. This would have been good stuff to see. So I don't know why they didn't air this, but it was actually pretty interesting. So it's on the YouTube channel and everything. So I'll be sure to check it out. All right, so let me just start off by doing my Raw preview. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Raw because Raw actually had some interesting stuff going into WrestleMania. We have, there is some things I don't really care for, like the whole Universal title match I've talked about. But we have the U.S. title match I'm pretty interested in for WrestleMania. We have, obviously, possibly Undertaker versus Roman Reigns, which we know is happening. Um, I'm not really too interested in that, but if they go direction I think they should go, then I'll be interested in it, but I don't know where they're going with it. What else? We had that match. Probably gonna try. We're probably gonna get some names thrown into the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Um, I can't really think of anything else. Probably some more Seth Rollins Triple H stuff, but I don't really know if they're gonna touch too much on that, just because of the fact that Seth Rollins and Triple H. We're still not sure if Seth Rollins is even wrestling at WrestleMania. But maybe some more stuff with Samoa Joe and stuff though. And then yeah, we have but we also the only match I know that's happening on the show is we're gonna have a Raw Tag Team Championship number one contenders match, between Enzo Amore and Big Cass versus Cesaro and Sheamus. I'm pretty interested in that. I expected this match to go not have a clean finish though. I expect this where either they're gonna get like a double pin, a double count out, or like a double DQ, or Gallows and Anderson will try to interfere so that way they don't have to face either of them, and then it will get turned to a triple threat tag match for the titles. So that's what I expect. But I'm actually slightly interested in this match. It does have some story because they both have cost each other the Raw Tag Team Championships on a couple of occasions and stuff. So yeah, Raw seems like a pretty interesting show. So let's sit down and watch Raw. And another thing we also have too is a cruiserweight division. We have the stuff with Akira Tozawa and the Brian Kendrick, and the stuff with the cruiserweight championship picture between Neville and he's gonna be facing at WrestleMania. So Raw looks like to be an alright show. Okay, so we had some WWE.com exclusives. Um, and the first one they talk about is WWE prepares to bid farewell to the Joe Louis Arena in snowy Detroit. The reason why is because it's being torn down. Gonna have a new building, which kind of sucks that the old buildings have to go, but you know, I guess you have to have new buildings, new buildings and stuff, but it does suck. But we also found out there that the match is made official. It's going to be Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania, which is nice. Um, and then Chris Jericho says goodbye to the Joe Louis Arena. He reminisces on old times. He reminisces about having John Cena's first pay-per-view match. And he also reminisces about talking about how he ran over Triple H's dog Lucy, which I remember that. And then Big Show reminiscence about his title wins at the Joe Louis Arena when he beat Hulk Hogan for the WCW Championship, and when he beat Triple H and The Rock for the WWF Championship, well, now called the WWE Championship. And, he says that he's going to miss it, but he looks forward to performing in the new arena. And that was about it, but I thought this was okay. Nice way to kind of pay tribute to the arena. Okay, so we had the actual show itself. We had Corey Graves, Michael Cole, and Byron Saxon on commentary for this show. And let me just scroll through my notes. The first thing that happens is Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman come out to cut a promo, and Paul Heyman talks about how what you saw last week was a advocate's fantasy, and I looked into the future, because he talks about how last week Brock Lesnar laid out Goldberg with the F5, the most devastating move in WWE history, and he also talks about how lately, ever since every time Goldberg and Brock Lesnar have gotten in the ring together, usually it's Goldberg that delivers usually it's spear, jackhammer, Goldberg. Well, last year was F5, down goes Goldberg. And he says that, and then everyone starts chanting Goldberg, so Paul Heyman cuts him off by saying that since you want to cut this interview short, ladies and gentlemen, Goldberg is not here this evening, but my client Brock Lesnar is. And he says that he wants to continue talking. Pretty much he says it's a nice way to tell him to shut up, which I liked that he kind of went off script, but kind of made it sound like he was still going off a script. I did like that. And Paul Heyman continuously talks about how he's going to, at WrestleMania, down goes Goldberg. The commentators are going to say, down goes Goldberg. And, Brock Lesnar says that at WrestleMania it's going to be F5, down goes Goldberg. And that was pretty much it. I didn't mind the promo too much. It really wasn't anything special. I still can't believe they're doing this match for the WWE Universal Championship, a match that I'm not interested in. A match that when they had this match at WrestleMania 20, it stunk up the joint, and now it's going to be one of the two World Championship matches at WrestleMania. It's ridiculous. So the promo itself wasn't bad. I just don't have any interest in seeing a Goldberg Brock Lesnar match for the Universal Championship. I didn't want to see it at Survivor Series, and now I got to see it now. But like I said, everybody wanted Goldberg to squash Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series, and now look what happened. So then we had the next segment. It's Mick Foley's backstage, and Stephanie McMahon comes up and she apologizes for being so aggressive with him lately and constantly insulting him. But she says it's just what happens when you're in the heat of WrestleMania season. And she says that she wants to work with him. And she said that she tried tough love and it didn't work. And Mick Foley says that he does better with a pat on the back. So Stephanie McMahon apologizes. So she's going to start teaching Mick Foley lessons. And the first lesson that she's going to teach him is he has by the end of the night to fire one Raw superstar. And Mick Foley says, what? And Stephanie McMahon says that she's having him do this because it would makes the competition better. It gives the WWE a better product, and she wants Mick Foley to think with his head, not with his heart. So Mick Foley, is upset that he has to fire somebody. So this kind of becomes a storyline throughout the rest of the night. I thought this was fine because it leads to something awesome later on in the night. And then we had the first actual match on the show. It was Sasha Banks with Bayley versus Dana Brooke with Charlotte Flair ringside. This match wasn't good. I really didn't care about it. Dana Brooke. So they did a backstage WWE.com exclusive interview earlier on where Dana Brooke keeps trying to apologize to Charlotte Flair for causing Sasha Banks to get put into the Raw Women's Championship triple threat match. And Charlotte Flair says that she can repay herself by preventing Sasha Banks from getting to WrestleMania. So this is what this match is for. She says that she's going to be ringside so that way nothing can go wrong. So this match really wasn't anything special. Sasha Banks wins with a roll-up. And then afterwards, Charlotte Flair gets on the mic, and Charlotte Flair says that she's pathetic, she's a waste of space, and that she says you're just a loser, you're just dead weight. It just said that you think you're gonna ride my coattails to WrestleMania. I don't think so. So she calls her pathetic, and then Dana Brooke attacks her, beats the crap out of Charlotte, and pretty much this causes Charlotte to escape. So I don't know what's going on here, if they're gonna do a feud between Dana Brooke and Charlotte Flair, but I don't think they plan on putting Dana Brooke in the Raw Women's Championship match, do they? That would just be terrible. I just think it's probably going to lead to like a match next week or something. And then we find out the Warrior Award for the Hall of Fame. The Ultimate Warrior brought this word in a few years ago, and now we have the Warrior Award, and this year it's going to Eric Lee Grant. Now, Eric Lee Grant was somebody that he was a college football player, and back in 2010 during a football game, he ended up getting colliding with somebody, and this ended up causing him to get paralyzed, so he had to be taken to the hospital, and I believe his mom, Karen Lee Grant, says that I don't remember if it was his mom or his wife or not gonna lie, says that nobody ever thought that he would walk again, no one ever thought that he would breathe again, but sometimes it proves that doctors don't know everything, so he pretty much worked to get better, and he has his own little charity fund now, and I definitely think he deserves to be in the Warrior Award. He pretty much fought through, not being able to walk, and he's somebody that you can look up to who's constantly fighting every day. So I think he definitely deserves to be in the Warrior Award. So I did like that. And then we had the next match, but yeah, so and he's also going to be, I don't know who's actually going to end up inducting him, but the Warrior Award's going to be presented by Ultimate Warrior's wife, Dana Warrior. So makes sense. Um, so then we had the next match. It was a tag team match. T.J. Perkins and Akira Tozawa versus the Brian Kendrick and Tony Nese. The reason why this match was happening is because this is to build up a fatal five-way match that is coming up. Well, that's already happened, but that was coming up on WWE 205 Live with these four guys in Austin Aries in a fatal five-way elimination match, and the winner's going to go on to face Neville for the Cruiserweight Championship at WrestleMania. So this was kind of a way to build up that match. I didn't mind this match too much. I thought it was a solid tag team match. Akira Tozawa wants to fight Kendrick, but Kendrick tags in Tony Nese. Tony Nese takes a cheap shot at him, but Akira Tozawa starts to fight back, but eventually they get the heat on Akira Tozawa. Eventually T.J. Perkins gets the hard tag. He starts going off on everybody, and eventually the match ends with Tony Nese rolling up T.J. Perkins for the win, and that was it. I thought this was fine. Nice way to build up to the match between Tozawa with a fatal five-way match. And then Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows get interviewed, and they get asked who they would prefer to face at WrestleMania. But Gallows and Anderson say, "Why are you asking us about people we've already beaten?" And they say that they feel like that since they've won the Raw Tag Team Championships, they don't feel like that they have had the spotlight. So they say that tonight they're going to take the spotlight. More on that later. So then we had the next match. It was another tag team match. It was Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe versus Sami Zayn and Chris Jericho. Before the match, Kevin Owens cuts a promo talking about how it was a month ago, because Raw took place on March 31st, 2017. It was a month ago to that day where he put the spotlight right back on him, meaning that's when he had turned his back on Chris Jericho. He says that Chris Jericho's just jealous because he didn't do it first. He outsmarted him because Chris Jericho never really was Kevin Owens' best friend either. He was going to stab him in the back eventually, but he just beat him to the punch. And he says that he gives Chris Jericho a lot of credit. He outsmarted me at Fastlane by costing me the WWE Universal Championship against Goldberg. And then he says that at WrestleMania, though, he's going to take something from Chris Jericho. He's going to take his United States Championship. And then that was it. I thought it was a really good promo by Kevin Owens. And then we had this tag team match. I thought this was a good, solid tag team match. Nothing fantastic, mainly because the match really didn't last all that long. Jericho and Owens act like they're going to square off. However, Owens tags in Joe immediately. Jericho dominates Joe throughout the first half. Sami Zayn gets tagged in. He hits a Hurricanrana on Joe. And eventually, Owens and Joe start to dominate Sami Zayn for a little bit. And Chris Jericho, when he's taunted in the crowd, hits a super kick while he's taunted the crowd, gets super kicked by Owens off the apron. So then Sami Zayn's kind of fighting a 2-on-1 disadvantage for the time being. So then eventually Sami Zayn's able to fight him off. He hits a flip dive on the outside. And then eventually Samoa Joe hangs him up on the top rope. And Owens and Joe just beat the crap out of Sami Zayn. So this causes the referee to disqualify him since they stayed in the ring longer than the 5 count. And Samoa Joe gets Sami Zayn into the Corkia clutch, and Owen just attacks him. So then Chris Jericho comes in. He throws Joe out of the ring. Owens and Jericho go at it for a little bit, and Jericho tries to put Owens in the walls of Jericho, but then Samoa Joe attacks him from behind and holds him back while Owens fights him off with the right hands, and then he throws Jericho into Owens so he can hit the pop-up powerbomb on him, and Owens and Joe stand tall. Like I said, I like this team-up of Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe. I think they're a nice dominant force, and it seems like they all built up some type of faction between them and Triple H, which I would be absolutely fine with, because I think that would be a great faction. But yeah, I like this. It was a nice way to build up the WrestleMania match between Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. And I think they're now gonna do another match between Samoa Joe and Sami Zayn at WrestleMania, which, well, I'll be fine with. So then Mick Foley and Stephanie McMahon are backstage, and Mick Foley has like the list of the Raw roster, and he has to decide which one he's gonna fire. And Mick Foley says that this isn't an easy decision for him to make. He's been thinking about it a lot. So Stephanie McMahon wants to know if he could help him, but make this decision. And Mick Foley says, no, I can make this decision myself. So then Nia Jax comes up, and Nia Jax says that she wants to be in the Raw Women's Championship match at WrestleMania. She took out Sasha Banks for a month, and she got lucky when she beat me, and it's not fair that she's going to be left out of the equation. So Stephanie McMahon says that tonight she's going to have an opportunity where she's going to face Bayley tonight to impress her. And then Mick Foley, leaves because he just has a lot going on. He's like, I got to take a walk and clear my head. So then Mick Foley's backstage again, and Jinder Mahal comes up to him, and he's upset, saying, I heard someone's getting fired tonight. He's like, no, this is true. Someone's getting fired. And he's like, I shouldn't be getting fired tonight because Rusev was the one holding me back. Which Rusev, by the way, has a shoulder injury, so I hope he has a speedy recovery. And Mick Foley says he's going to give him a chance tonight to prove himself by facing Roman Reigns tonight, which was interesting. And then that was it. And then afterwards, that was it. Nothing fantastic here. And then the New Day are backstage, and we have the New Day talk, I believe it's called, where they pretty much bring up they talk about how they're hosting WrestleMania, and they bring and the first guest is the Big Show, and they announced that Big Show is going to be competing in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and they also talk about how the New Day pretty much this was used to plug Big Show, the Flintstones with the Big Show on it. They talk about what it was like for him to have the role and everything, and they pretty much don't let him speak. And then Big Show kind of talks about how it was a pleasure for him to be a part of that. And then Titus O'Neil comes up, and Titus O'Neil is upset because Big Show was involved in the movie, and the Titus brand wasn't. And then the Big Show's like, look, I didn't have anything control with that. So then Titus O'Neil says, bull crap. So then he pushes Big Show, and then this pisses Big Show off, which leads to a match later. So nothing fancy there. So then we had the next match. It was a Raw Tag Team Championship #1 contenders match. Enzo Amore and Big Cass versus Cesaro and Sheamus. And Enzo Amore and Big Cass come out doing the whole stick. My name's Enzo Amore. I'm a certified G. You know the whole stick. And then they talk about how last week they were robbed of the Raw Tag Team Champions by Cesaro and Sheamus because Cesaro was clumsy and spilled his coffee. So he said because of that he got him a gift, and he got him a cup of haters for a cup of haters. And they talk about how they're going to beat Cesaro and Sheamus. And Enzo says that let me tell you something that two real men would do, Cesaro and Sheamus. Like, oh, you wouldn't know anything about that because you're not two real men. So then Enzo Amore, Big Cass talks about how we are going to be like a Cinderella story because there's only one match for us to be able to have at WrestleMania, and that's for us to have the Cinderella story. And then they pretty much continued their stick. I actually like this promo. It was pretty good. And we had the match itself. I liked the match. Big Cass starts taking out Cesaro with big boots, and then eventually Sheamus takes out Big Cass with a clothesline, and then he kicks him in the head. And Enzo Amore and Big Cass start to make a comeback. Big Cass body slams Enzo on the Cesaro, and eventually Cesaro and Sheamus get the upper hand. Sheamus hits the Rolling Senton. Cesaro hits the double stomp on Enzo Amore, and then eventually they hit a double power slam on Enzo Amore, and they pretty much dominate Enzo Amore. And then Big Cass gets the hot tag on Cesaro. He starts going off on him. He hits all his moves on him. And then eventually hits a big boot, but Sheamus tags himself in. He hits a shoulder block on Big Cass. And this pretty much leads into chaos. Both men are laid out on the... Both men take each other out on the outside. And then eventually Anderson and Gallows jump the barricade. And they attack Sheamus and Big Cass at the same time, which means there wasn't a winner. It's a double disqualification. And they pretty much beat the crap out of everybody. They throw Sheamus into the steel post. They try to Cesaro tries his best to fight back, but because of the numbers game, he just can't do so. So eventually, Luke Gallows hits a big kick onto Enzo Amore, and then Gallows and Anderson lay out Cesaro with the Magic Killer and pretty much look dominant and strong. I did like this, and this is like I said, I did picture this was going to happen because I think they wanted because then later on Gallows and Anderson are backstage, and Mick Foley comes up to him and he's pissed off, saying, "I could fire you two both tonight for what you did." And Gallows and Anderson say, "Look, we don't have to face anybody now because it's a double disqualification. Nobody wins." So Mick Foley says, "No, it's just the opposite. They both are going to get the Raw Tag Team Title match at WrestleMania. Now you have to defend the championships in a triple threat match," and that was it. So, like I said, I did envision this would happen. I didn't think they were going to leave Cesaro and Sheamus or Enzo and Big Cass off of WrestleMania. So I actually am interested in this match. I actually kind of want to see this Raw Tag Team Championship match, and I hope that they do put the titles on Enzo and Big Cass because it's now finally the chance to do so. And then we had the next match. It was Jinder Mahal versus Roman Reigns. Yeah, Jinder Mahal really needs to be wellness tested, by the way. He does not look healthy. And Roman Reigns pretty much kicks his ass throughout the whole match. And he's going to do the spot where he hits the 10 clotheslines in the corner. But then the Undertaker's Gone goes off. So Roman Reigns is looking for the Undertaker. And this distracts Roman Reigns long enough for Jinder Mahal to hit a high knee on him. And Jinder Mahal pretty much dominates the matchup. But then Roman Reigns gets pissed off. He hits a Superman punch coming out of the corner. And then he hits a second one. Covers Mahal. Gets the win. So I thought Roman Reigns looked strong here. I thought that was good. I thought it was kind of funny that he beat Jinder Mahal with a Superman punch and he didn't even use the spear. And then Roman Reigns gets on the mic and he calls out the Undertaker. He wants to he wants the Undertaker to come out here like a man, and he waits for him. And instead, who comes out? None other than the Heartbreak Kid, Mr. WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels. I was actually surprised to see Shawn Michaels. Not gonna lie, I didn't expect to see him. So then, Shawn Michaels comes out and he says that you're already weeks away from WrestleMania, and he's already getting to you, and you can't let The Undertaker get to you, because then if at WrestleMania, he will eat you alive. So then Roman Reigns says that he says something like saying that, look, it's really cool to see you out here, but I didn't call out the Heartbreak Kid. I called out The Undertaker. And then Shawn Michaels says that, look, I know what it's like to be you. I was the top guy, and everybody wanted to secretly see me fail, and everybody wanted me, I've dealt with The Undertaker before. I'm Mr. WrestleMania. And then Roman Reigns says, yes, but you you lost to The Undertaker. And he retired you. And he says that, at WrestleMania, I'm going to be the guy that retires The Undertaker. And then he leaves. And before I got to what happens next, I thought this was great. It feels like, I hope they're not teasing us, but it does kind of feel like they are teasing turning Roman Reigns heel, because he did say that he is he's going to retire The Undertaker, and the fact that he says that definitely means he's on the hint of turning heel. And if he does retire The Undertaker and doesn't turn heel, it won't make any sense because they're gonna boo. They would boo. Because then Roman Reigns would never be able to become a babyface. And how could you expect to like Roman Reigns when he retired the Phenom, The Undertaker? It wouldn't make any sense. So, I'm not saying I want Roman to beat The Undertaker, but if Roman Reigns does retire The Undertaker, then he has to turn heel. There's no way he can come back from that. And I hope that's the direction this match goes. So that's why I'm kind of interested in this match, because it seems like maybe they're in the direction of turning Roman Reigns heel, so we're going to have to wait and see. And then afterwards, though, Braun Strowman attacks Roman Reigns from behind. He clotheslines him. He falls off the stage. Well, he falls off like the ramp, and he ends up hitting the barricade. And then Braun Strowman looks at Shawn Michaels and says, I could attack you if I really wanted to. So overall, I thought this was okay. I actually I really like this segment with Roman Reigns and Shawn Michaels. The Braun Strowman attacking Roman Reigns, I didn't mind too much. I think they did it just to make sure that everyone knew that Roman Reigns is still supposed to be a babyface, and they're still kind of working with that feud. And they're going to have a match next week, which probably means that Roman Reigns is going to win and that feud's going to be over. So, yeah. So then Mick Foley and Stephanie McMahon are backstage again watching this, and Stephanie McMahon says that, she wants to know if Mick Foley's made his decision yet. And Mick Foley says that he can't just make his decision, it's 3 weeks before WrestleMania, and someone's gonna possibly lose their job, and Stephanie McMahon says, "No, you have to do it because, um, because it's for the good of the company, the good of the product." She even had mentioned earlier too that Sami Zayn should be fired because he's been underperforming, which I thought was kind of a way for WWE to kind of jab at Sami Zayn a little bit, which I kind of thought was, what the hell. So but she says Mick Foley has an hour, and then she says that if she has to make the decision, then it's not going to be then it's going to be worse. So Mick Foley says okay, he'll do it in an hour. So yeah, interesting stuff there. So then next match, it was Austin Aries versus Arya Daivari. This match was solid. Austin Aries hit the suicide dive and Arya Daivari, then he hits the rolling elbow for the win. And that was it. Nothing much to it. Glad to see Aries in the cruiserweight division, and it's glad to see him back doing what he does best, being the greatest man that ever lived and being a really good wrestler. Then afterwards, we have a Emma video package, and pretty much it's just another video package reestablishing Emma. And when it's over, Corey Graves is just like, "Oh, this again?" I thought that was awesome. But yeah, so I'm glad Emma's coming back as Emma. So I kind of can't wait to see what happens with this. I kind of hope it doesn't. This isn't going to be like another swerve where she comes out and says, "Now you're going to see the transformation to Emma back to Emmalina." If they did that, would be like, "Wow, what the fuck." So then we had the next match. It was Big Show versus Titus O'Neil, and Big Show pretty much squashes Titus O'Neil, hits 3 choke slams on him for the win. Big Show looks really good out there, though. He definitely looks like he's in better shape now, which I'm happy about. So, but the match itself I didn't care about, but I will say that Big Show does look like he's in shape. He looks really good out there. So, yeah, happy to see the Big Show in really good shape. And then we had women's. We had another video package celebrating Women's Month, and it was Billie Jean King. She was a women's tennis player. She revolutionized tennis, and she got people to watch the 1979 tennis. She ended up beating a male athlete in Bobby something. I actually forget his name, not gonna lie. And then she's accomplished all this other stuff. She's won all these other awards. Hold on, I'm trying to pull it up on my Facebook. But pretty much she was a huge inspiration. She brought women's sports to the top. She made people actually want to watch it. I'm trying to pull up my other accolades before I okay. Where is it? Here it is. Alright, so the other stuff that she's accomplished is, I'm sorry it took so long. It just, in 1971, she was the first female athlete to earn $100K in a single year. In 1976, she was the Time Magazine Woman of the Year. In 1987, she won the she was inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame. In 1990, she was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame. I didn't even know they had one. And in 1990, and in the same year, she was the Life magazine's most important American of the 20th century. And then in 1999, she was the Arthur Ashe and Courage. She won the Arthur Ashe Courage Award. And then in 2009, she got some sort of presidential award from Barack Obama. So she's done a lot. So she definitely deserves to be remembered. And then we had the next segment is Bayley and Sasha Banks are backstage, and Bayley's really nervous to face Nia Jax because she's taken out Sasha Banks in the past, and she knows that the splash means the end. But Sasha Banks says that she's got this. Show those doubters out there that don't think that you should be the Raw Women's Champion. And Bayley's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, look, just don't remember that. Just, you got this. So then, so the tennis feels like they're definitely teasing some tension between they're trying to tease Sasha Banks turning on Bailey eventually, which is what's gonna happen. So I did like this. And then Chris Jericho's backstage and he gets interviewed and he gets asked how he feels about what happened tonight. So he says that you've seen Kevin Owens, you saw the Kevin Owens that was my best friend, and you saw the Kevin Owens that you turned on me, but you guys haven't seen the real Kevin Owens. So I'm gonna have a special edition of the highlight reel where I have my special guest, the real Kevin Owens. And you better watch it. So then he tells Tom to get out of here, and he's like, "My name's Mike." And he's like, "No, I know who you are. I've been talking to Tom Phillips all summer." He's like, "No, my name's Mike." So then he's like, "You know what happens to people that don't know her own name and who insult my intelligence? You know what, Tom Phillips, you just made the list." It was actually really funny. So then we had the next match. It was Bailey versus Nia Jax, and Nia Jax pretty much destroys Bailey in the beginning of the match, and then Bailey starts to make a comeback. She hits a twist of fate over the middle rope, and eventually Nia Jax just kills Bailey. She attacks her in the corner, but the referee keeps counting 5 for her to get out of the ropes, and she chooses not to, and she gets disqualified, which I don't like that finish because you lose just because you kick too much ass. And then afterwards, she slams Bailey against the barricade, so I fully expect her to be in the Raw Women's Championship match. And then the last segment of the night, the main event segment, was Mick Foley had to decide who he had to fire. So Stephanie McMahon's out there. She wants Mick Foley to come out, and Mick Foley comes out, and he says that he's finally made his decision. He had an epiphany. He said that he made it. A name came across his head 10 minutes ago, and then he ended up really liking this name. And I actually thought he was going to say Samoa Joe because he hasn't liked Samoa Joe since he's been signed. But then he says Stephanie McMahon, and she's like, "What?" And she gets really pissed off. And then he says that you always treated our superstars like animals, but they're not. They're human beings. You've always made fun of them. And he says that she must go because when I looked at you in your eyes 6 months ago, you said that you had nothing to do with the attack. You weren't in cahoots with Triple H when he attacked Seth Rollins. And Mick Foley says that if you were lying, you must be a really good liar and a terrible person. And now I know I'm looking into the eyes of that type of person. And then Stephanie McMahon says, "Well, you bet. You're looking into my eyes now, and you're gonna see that I can become even more of a terrible person." Mick Foley's like, "I am not gonna be silenced because you need to go, because you pretty much." So he pretty much goes off on her, and then Triple H comes out, and Triple H says that he could take out Mick Foley right now, take out his knee that needs hip replacement, but he said that he's not going to do that because of lawsuits. And Mick Foley says, "Oh yeah, just like you did, just like when you took out Seth Rollins, you needed your destroyer Samoa Joe. This is the new Triple H." And then Triple H is like, "I don't know why people are having so much trouble finding me. I'm not that hard to find. I'm running a billion-dollar corporation. I'm running a damn business." And he pretty much goes off on Mick Foley, talk about how he's, he didn't want to sign Mick Foley back to the company. He was making the new superstar so he doesn't have to look at pieces of crap like him. But then he says that Stephanie McMahon wanted Mick Foley to come back. She's wanted, because she really likes Mick Foley, and she says that now. That Stephanie McMahon actually does have a hope, but now you're gonna realize that that's not the case. And Mick Foley said that Triple H and Stephanie McMahon have been running mockery over the superstar, and secretly the superstars hate me because because they have to come here and pretend that they like to be at work that they like you, but I don't have to. And then Triple H pretty much talks about Mick Foley's kids, talks about his daughter how she wants to be a superstar, talks about his son who works in the performance center. He says he could just fire him right now and you could drive him to the unemployment line because his father decided to be stupid. So he wants Mick Foley to pretend that he goes that to put a smile on his face and act like he likes coming to work. So he sends Mick Foley to the back, and then Mick Foley goes to go backstage, but he's all upset about this. And Mick Foley Stephanie McMahon says, and that's what you guys should be doing tomorrow. You guys should go to job and thank your boss for hiring you for the job. And Triple H comes over, and Mick Foley puts Socko into Triple H's mouth, and he just has it down his throat. And then Stephanie McMahon low blows him, and Triple H is just gonna beat the crap out of Mick Foley. But I think because he had to have his replacement, he really couldn't. So then Seth Rollins comes out, and he's got the clutch on him, and Seth Rollins loses the clutch. He ends up running into the ring without the clutch, and he attacks Triple H, beats the crap out of him, hits a kick to the ribs, drop kicks him out of the ring, and then Triple H and Seth Rollins have a little bit of a stare down, and then Triple H comes in the ring with a clutch, and Seth Rollins they still stop brawling, and then Triple H takes out Rollins' knee with a clutch, and he just attacks it, beats the crap out of him, and then he gets him into like a knee bow, and he really takes out Seth Rollins, and then Seth Rollins referees have to pull him off, and then when Seth Rollins tries to get to his feet, he completely takes out Seth Rollins with the knee. And I thought this main event segment was absolutely fantastic. It was actually the best thing on the show, believe it or not. I actually thought it was awesome. And yeah, this was just an awesome segment. It was awesome to see Mick Foley and Triple H finally go at it, and it was awesome to see Seth Rollins and Triple H finally go at it. And I think by this segment, it's pretty much apparent that Seth Rollins, I think, will be wrestling Triple H at WrestleMania because of this segment. I don't think his knee injury was a work, but now I think they're trying to make it seem like it was a work. So yeah, I can't wait to see Seth Rollins versus Triple H at WrestleMania. And if I was me, I would main event this match at WrestleMania just because of the fact that what other main event do you really have? You can't main event the Universal title match between Brock Lesnar and Goldberg because that match is just gonna blow chunks. Wyatt and Orton could main event, but that doesn't really feel like a main event title match to me. The only other match I could see main event is Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker. If it is going to be Undertaker's last match and you are going to turn Roman Reigns heel, that would be a match you would main event WrestleMania with. But if that doesn't happen, then I would main event Triple H and Seth Rollins. Have Seth Rollins have the babyface where he finally gets revenge on Triple H. It was a story. This is a story that's been building for months, so I kind of hope that's what if he can wrestle at WrestleMania. But I think because of this segment, Seth Rollins will be wrestling Triple H at WrestleMania. So I'm pretty interested in seeing what happens with that whole storyline. So overall, I actually thought Raw was a good show. I didn't think it was a great show, but I thought it was a good show. I like the stuff with the Roman Reigns, Shawn Michaels segment. I like how they developed up the Raw Tag Team title match. The Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho stuff I enjoyed. The Warrior Award video package I thought was good. The Cruiserweight stuff was okay, but nothing fantastic. Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman's promo was good. I did like the storyline they told with Mick Foley having to fire somebody, and then we had Triple H come out at the end of the night. And the stuff I didn't really care much for was the woman stuff and the whole Big Show squashing Titus O'Neil fiasco. And like I said, I still kind of don't really care for the Brock Lesnar Paul Heyman stuff too because it's leading to a Universal title match I don't want to see. And a lot of the matches really we didn't deliver all that well. Like Jinder Mahal Roman Reigns wasn't all that great. The Cruiserweight matches were just okay at best. And this wasn't a strong wrestling show, but I really didn't care for like the woman stuff on the show really. So I thought Raw was a good show overall because it did have Triple H and Seth Rollins at the end. It had the Roman Reigns Undertaker bit. I did like the stuff they did building up to the Raw Tag Team title match. I did like the Mick Foley storyline where he had to fire somebody. I don't know if Mick Foley's fired or not actually. I don't think he is just because they would have said you're fired. Or if he is, I expect them to come on, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon to come on next week and say that Mick Foley's fired. But I also did like the New Day segment up until Titus O'Neil got involved, and like I said, the stuff with Jericho and Owen. So I thought they did a pretty good job building up to WrestleMania, which is what isn't the most important thing, right? Alright, so now we have Smackdown for March 14th, 2017. So by the way, I forgot to mention that it's now my birthday. It's March 15th, so thank you to everyone who's wished me a happy birthday so far. But anyhow, And if you want to know how old I am, I'm 21. So now legal to drink, baby. But anyhow, so we get the but SmackDown. I'm just gonna do a quick preview for. So I don't really remember exactly if they've announced any matches or anything. But SmackDown looks like it could be a pretty interesting show. We finally have a number one contender to the WWE Championship. It's now going to be Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt for the title, which we knew. I mean, eventually we were going to get that match. So I'm actually fine with that match. I'm interested in seeing what the fallout's going to be with AJ Styles and Shane McMahon. After AJ Styles flipped out on Shane McMahon after the match. What else am I interested in seeing? I guess what happens with the whole Miz, Maurice, John Cena, Nikki Bella fiasco. I'm interested, but not too interested in it. Maybe who else is going to be a part of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, how they're going to build up to the SmackDown Tag Team title match, and which we don't even know if it's happening or not because we haven't seen the SmackDown Tag Team titles on TV in maybe 2 weeks. It's been a while, so yeah, SmackDown has some pretty interesting stuff going into WrestleMania, so let's see what happens. Okay, so the first thing that happens is we have a WWE.com exclusive. Um, Dasha, I forget her last name, is backstage, and she's being told like what she's going to be doing on SmackDown and everything, and then Kurt Hawkins walks by her and says, "Excuse me, uncrowned Intercontinental Champion walking through," and she's like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, I beat Dean Ambrose 2 weeks in a row by disqualification, of course." So then he has a referee come over and read what a disqualification is. And then like, well, you know what? There was also something else I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Face the facts. And then he leaves. And then Dasha's like, "Wait, how's Zack Ryder doing?" This segment was okay. Nothing special, but alright. Okay, so we had the actual show itself. We had JBL and Tom Phillips on commentary for this show. The reason why David Otunga and Mauro Ranallo weren't there is because Mauro Ranallo had travel issues due to the snow, which is actually getting a lot of crap for that by Josh Matthews and Taz. Um, I mean, I think Josh Matthews, had talked about how he's shown up at every time they've asked him to. I personally just think Josh Matthews is a douchebag, so I could care less about what he thinks. When it comes down with Taz, his opinion does make some sense. He was talking about how he showed up to every show no matter what, and it was only 1 day a week. I mean, I personally don't have a big issue that Mauro Ranallo wasn't there. Does it suck that he wasn't there? Yes, because this show kind of affected him not being there. It took an effect that he wasn't there. But I mean, what are you gonna do with the weather? I mean, it's the snow. You can't really. I mean, if the weather, sometimes the weather's not gonna allow you to get there, so it's nothing really you can do about it. So, and David Otunga was off filming a movie, so I just kind of think it's funny that David Otunga didn't get any shit on it, but Mauro Ranallo did. I just thought that was kind of like, I don't know, but yeah, the show was definitely affected by Mauro Ranallo not being there. David Otunga not so much, especially too since Tom Phillips had to do, because he actually had to call matches and stuff. So the show opens up though with Daniel Bryan backstage, and he's on the phone. I'm assuming maybe Brie Bella, but I don't think he was on the phone with Brie because he was talking about like, not saying that Brie wouldn't, but he was talking about stuff that had to do with the show. He wasn't talking about like his outside life. So he was probably on the show with some sort of producers or something. And AJ Styles comes up and he wants to know where Shane McMahon is. And Daniel Bryan's like, "Why do you want it, Shane McMahon? Is this something that we could settle?" As AJ's like, "No, this is something that we need to settle because I can't settle with what I want to settle with you because you could punch me in the face, but I can't retaliate back because of your health condition." And Daniel Bryan says, "Let's just calm down. We can talk about this. Shane McMahon's not here yet. He's going to be here soon." And then AJ Styles says, "You know what? Screw it. I'm going to go out to the ring. and I'm gonna say everything that's on my mind right now. And then Daniel Bryan's like, you should think about your career. And then AJ says, that's all I've been doing. So I did like this backstage segment. I thought it was really good. So then AJ Styles comes out and cuts a promo, and he pretty much talks about how he was one of the greatest superstars last year, and talks about how he had to go to run through hoops to get through to WrestleMania. He talks about how when John Cena came back, he immediately got a title shot because Daniel Bryan was his brother-in-law. Well, his brother-in-law. I always forget they're not really related yet. And he instantly got a title shot. And he says, I admit it, I lost to John Cena. John Cena beat me and I lost. But then I had to get my rematch in a triple threat match where I wasn't even pinned to lose. I had to fight 5 other guys in the Elimination Chamber match. And then he talks about how when Randy Orton gave up his title shot, he had to compete in a battle royal to get his one-on-one match, and then it was a tie, but he clearly won. And then he had to fight, and he finally got his opportunity by defeating Luke Harper last week. So, but then Randy Orton burns down somebody's house and his main event at WrestleMania. When if anybody else did that, they would be in jail, which is true. So then AJ Styles says that this is ridiculous. That he doesn't even have a match at WrestleMania, and he's the reason. And he had a great year last year. He's the reason why people are watching SmackDown. He helped launch SmackDown Live where it was. He says he's the reason that people are subscribed to the WWE Network. He said that he's one of the greatest superstars, and he says that he's going to do something about this. And he says that him and Shane are going to settle things tonight. So I did like this promo. I thought it was very good by AJ Styles, and everything that he said was pretty much on point. And it definitely leads to some things later on in the night. This was pretty much stuff that I was talking about originally. That it sucks that AJ Styles doesn't have an opponent at WrestleMania. Well, you know. So then we had the first actual, but this leads to eventually AJ Styles. He ends up going backstage and he's waiting in like the parking garage, waiting for Shane McMahon, and this leads to some things later on in the night, which I'll talk about when I get to that point of the show. So then we had the first actual match on the show. It was Becky Lynch versus Natalya. I actually thought this was a pretty good match. Becky Lynch dominates the first half of it, and she ends up hitting a arm drag onto Natalya, hits a butterfly suplex, and then eventually she hits a leg drop on Natalya, but Natalya rolls out of the ring, and then Natalya hits a Michinoku driver on the floor, and then eventually Natalya dominates the matchup for a little bit, and then Becky Lynch ends up getting Natalya into the disarmer. Natalya taps out, Becky Lynch wins, that was fine. And then afterwards, Carmella attacks Becky Lynch, and she kicks her in the head, and then afterwards she attacks Natalya, and that was pretty much it. And then backstage, Carmella and James Ellsworth are backstage, and Carmella announces that Daniel Bryan said that this SmackDown Women's title match is for every available SmackDown women's wrestler, and she said that she's putting herself in the match and she's going to walk out of WrestleMania with the SmackDown Women's Championship. And so far, the people that are in that match is Carmella, Becky Lynch, Natalya, Mickie James, and Alexa Bliss, and she's the champion. And like I said, I don't personally agree with that match because it's just a smods. So yeah, I don't really like this match. I'm actually pretty disappointed with what the women matches have become for WrestleMania. I talked about the Raw side of things, the SmackDown side. They had so many possibilities of what they could have done for matches. They could have done the one-on-one match between Alexa Bliss and Mickie James, or they could have done a triple threat with Becky Lynch in there, or had Naomi win the SmackDown Women's title. They could have had her versus Alexa Bliss for the title, and just a one-on-one match where Naomi finally wins the SmackDown Women's title for the first time, instead of what they did. I just feel like they just kind of threw a bunch of women together in a schmoz, and this is just going to be a schmoz. And we don't even know what type of match it is or anything. I don't know if this is going to be the ladder match on the show, because they always like to have a ladder match now on the show. The past couple of years at WrestleMania, they've had ladder matches for the Intercontinental Championship, so I don't know if they're gonna have a ladder match for the SmackDown Women's title, which that would be kind of cool. But it's like you have people like Carmella and who can't really wrestle all that well. You know, you have Alexa Bliss is good, Mickey James is good, but um, there's not really enough women to really throw in a ladder match. I know, and who else are they gonna throw in there? I think this is the entire SmackDown Women's division because Nikki Bella and Maurice aren't gonna be wrestling for this title because, well, I'll get to that in a second. Um, but so, are they gonna do some NXT call ups? What? Something interesting is they could have Asuka come in this match and win the match, but Asuka's kind of needed on Raw, because if Asuka doesn't rest, but then because Raw's women's division is a mess. It only has like 4 women that are featured: Nia Jax, Bayley, Charlotte Flair, and Sasha Banks. And then we have like Dana Brooke, who really, and Alicia Fox isn't really doing shit. So it's kind of like, you know, and then Emma's not really in a bit, is kind of coming back. So I have no clue what the plans are for this SmackDown Women's title match. Who could win? So, like I've talked about it in the past, I would like to see Natalya win just because it would really help Natalya pay her dues because she's been in the women's division for so long, and she's been piled with a bunch of shit, and she's stuck through it. It would kind of mean something to me if Natalya won. Becky Lynch would make sense to win. I don't think and if Alexa Bliss retained, that would be pretty cool. But then if Alexa Bliss beats everybody that's in the division, who the fuck can beat her for the title? I think the only 2 people that can really win are Natalya or Becky Lynch. So, but anyhow, moving forward, we have the special edition of Miz TV, and he's out there with Maurice, and the Miz says that, let me introduce you to the hottest it couple that the world's talking about, and we think he's gonna say John Cena and Nikki Bella, and ends up instead being the Miz and Maurice, and the Miz talks about how much of a phony couple John Cena and Nikki Bella are. He shows the footage from last week when they attacked Cena and Nikki, and then the footage later on in the night on Talkin' Smack where we just went off on Cena, and then he says, we've talked about how much of a how despicable John Cena was. Let's talk about how despicable Nikki Bella is, because on this part of Total Divas, they didn't even dare to air this. So Maurice talks, and Maurice says that her and Nikki Bella used to be best friends, but 3 years ago, I believe it was, maybe a longer, when the first season of Total Divas was starting up, she was her along with Kelly and I believe that she said Eve Torres were offered to come back to the WWE to be on Total Divas, and Nikki Bella says, why don't you hold off signing this contract, don't sign it just yet, and she did just that, and then eventually the WWE decided not to renew a contract. They're like, no, because Maurice waited too long to answer. So then, Nikki said that she would do something about it. She would make deals. She would negotiate with the higher ups, and she even said, "Don't worry about it. I got this. I'm untouchable. I'm dating John Cena." And then she said that she got no phone call, and afterwards she never heard from her again. The only time she heard from her was when Nikki texted her saying that she is debuting on Raw tonight, and Total Divas is starting back up. Hope you don't mind. And Maurice then says that that was despicable, and she talks about how Nikki Bella caused her a WWE contract, and she took away so many opportunities from her, and she took away 3.5 years that she could have spent time with her husband, and that's time that she's never going to get back. I actually did like what she was saying, but Maurice just sucks so much on the mic that it makes it hard to say it was a good promo. And I actually could, maybe this did happen, but I have a feeling this is just one side of the story. I have a feeling that this is kind of a scripted angle, but it's kind of real. So, you know, um, and then John Cena and Nikki Bella went out, and John Cena's about to grab the mic and said something, but instead Nikki says, "No, I'm gonna talk," and Nikki talks about how despicable Maurice is, and that she says um, that they were never best friends because when you didn't get signed with the WWE, you made up some story and turned your back on me and Brie, and she says that she uses all the fans' money, and she uses the Miz for his money, and she challenges Maurice to come in the ring right now and fight her like a woman so she could beat the crap out of her. And the Miz says no. Maurice has nothing to prove by going in there and fighting you, so he said that this segment is up. So then he drops the mic, and then Daniel Bryan comes out, and Daniel Bryan says that he's not the general manager of SmackDown, so he can't just end the segment when he wants to. And he says that he really wants to punch Miz in the face, but he knows that he can't. He kind of states, that he wants to because he promised this was going to be a special edition, but you just made it like every other Miz TV segment. Every time you cut me off and every time you put me down, he says, but he just can't punch him in the face. But he knows two people that can punch him in the face, and that's John Cena and Nikki Bella. And he makes a mixed tag team match between John Cena and Nikki Bella versus The Miz and Maurice. And then that was it. This segment was good. I just don't care about where it's going. This does not feel like a WrestleMania angle, not gonna lie. This feels like maybe like a SummerSlam or maybe a Survivor Series angle. Definitely not a WrestleMania angle. I don't even know if this is even a SummerSlam angle. Maybe a Survivor Series because it does have the tag team match bit, but I definitely think this is like I don't even know what I definitely think this storyline is totally John Cena and Nikki Bella's idea. They wanted to do a storyline together, so they threw the Miz and Maurice in there. And I have a feeling that John Cena's planning on proposing to Nikki Bella at WrestleMania because they're having him say a lot of things like Nikki Bella's never going to have a wedding ring. And Natalia's even saying that John's going to leave you, so I have a feeling John Cena's going to propose to Nikki Bella at WrestleMania. So that's why they're doing this storyline. After the tag match, obviously Cena and Nikki are going to win, and Cena's going to propose to Nikki, and it's going to be this big happy moment, and sadly no one's going to care. And if Nikki Bella is surprised and doesn't see it coming, I'm sorry, but you're an idiot because that's pretty obvious. I mean, how can you not see, I mean, if it doesn't happen, then why are they doing this storyline? Because, yeah, it's just, yeah, I mean, that's the only reason I can think about why they're doing this storyline, because this storyline isn't bad, but it's like, I don't care about it, really. It's just, it's not that, I mean, the Miz and Cena, because there's like really no reason that they all of a sudden hate each other. I mean, they've always hated each other from the past, but it's like really random that they just threw this on last minute. It just kind of, it's really weird. They had a chance to finally do John Cena versus The Undertaker. Maybe that's why I don't like the storyline either, because they threw away. And this match is just a throwaway match. I mean, it's Cena versus Miz. So it's Cena and Nikki versus Miz and Maurice. This is the piss break match, and the face of the company's in it. It's just weird. I don't recall a time ever where the face of the WWE was in a piss break match. Maybe like I could say maybe Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Scott Hall at WrestleMania 18. That was probably a piss break match. I'm trying to think of another time, but at least that had names in it. At least that had a purpose. But I guess that would be a piss break match. Maybe Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake versus Money Inc. at WrestleMania 9 for the for the tag titles. But at least the Stone Cold and Scott Hall one was at least involving the NWO members. They were huge coming into WWE, and at least the $1 million. But I can't really say anything about the WrestleMania 9 match. I can't really defend that one. That was kind of a throwaway match. But this match, I would say, is more of a throwaway match because John Cena was just the WWE champion like a month ago, and now all of a sudden he's feuding with The Miz. I mean, I'm not saying that The Miz is a downgrade, but this storyline just kind of seems like it came together really fast. I totally see this being John Cena and Nikki Bella's idea because Nikki Bella's always talked about how she wanted to work with Cena. This is going to be her last WrestleMania, I hear, and Cena's going to be gone for a while. I totally see that John Cena and Nikki Bella are getting. As John Cena's going to propose to Nikki Bella. That's the main reason why they're doing this match because they keep mentioning it. They've been mentioning it for months, so I don't really know what to say about this match really. But that's just what I think. But the segment was actually not that bad. It's leading to a match I don't care about, which makes me not care about it makes me not care about as much about the segment. The segment was still good, but this match is a match that you would see at Survivor Series. So, and then we had the next match. It was another women's match. It was Alexa Bliss versus Mickie James. I actually did like this match, but the crowd was really dead during this match. I don't know why either. They just were. And they both start chain wrestling each other. Alexa Bliss bounces Mickie James' head off the steel post, which I thought was cool, and then she throws it right down on the floor, and then Mickie James gets some offense in. She hits a wicked clothesline, and then Alexa Bliss chokes Mickie James and hits an STO, and then she throws Mickie James really hard in the corner. I actually thought Mickie James hurt herself right there, and then eventually the finish comes where Mickie James keeps trying to go for the Mick DDT. Alexa Bliss counters, hits a wicked right hand to the face, hits a double stomp, and then goes for the moonsault double stomp. Mickie James moves out of the way, and Mickie James hits the Mick kick for the win. I'm fine with Mickie James going over because she really hasn't won a lot of matches coming back, and she kind of really needs to establish herself, make herself look like a threat going into this Smackdown Women's title match, whatever it is. So I'm fine with her going over. And then AJ Styles gets interviewed, and he says that when Shane McMahon's here, he said that he's going to sell him, he's going to do whatever it takes. And then Shane McMahon arrives, and AJ Styles attacks him from behind. He beats the crap out of him. He throws him into a car, just beats the crap out of him. And then eventually he throws him through a car window, which I actually thought looked really cool. And then Fit Finlay has to pull him back. And Renee Young comes up and says, "Oh my God, he's bleeding," and he actually was bleeding. I actually thought what was going to happen was he wasn't bleeding, because it was PG, because they don't normally show blood, but he actually was bleeding. Which I like the fact that he was bleeding because of the fact that Shane McMahon, the fact that he was bleeding, kind of made this segment, made this segment work, and it wouldn't have made sense if he wasn't bleeding because he got thrown through a car window. So. And then afterwards, Styles just comes back and kicks him in the head again. And then eventually Shane McMahon's being attended to backstage. Fit Finlay and Jamie Noble come up and they say that he should go to the emergency room, and Shane McMahon refuses. And he says, "Let's at least get you checked out in the trainer's room," and then they have to help him to the trainer's room. And then AJ Styles is backstage, and the Usos and Kurt Hawkins, that was way too far, man. Which was kind of weird that they were saying this because they're all heels, especially the Usos, who are supposed to be the heel tag team, and they're going after the SmackDown Tag Team Champions American Alpha right now, so it was kind of weird, and especially since they wrestled as heels on the show. I don't know, it's sometimes the Usos act face, and then when they wrestle, they're heels. It was weird. And then Daniel Bryan comes up with a couple of security guards, and Daniel Bryan says, "I don't care if you're the most valuable asset we have on SmackDown. What you did to Shane McMahon was way too far." Then AJ saw and says, "What are you going to do? Fire me?" And Daniel says, "That's exactly what I'm going to do. You're fired. Get out of here." And then he has security kick him out, which I did like that he got fired because it wouldn't have made sense if he attacked the commissioner and he didn't get fired. So, and it does make it believable. And actually, Daniel Bryan got booed for firing Styles, which has never happened before, which I liked. And I did like this segment they did with AJ Styles and Shane McMahon, even though I know where it's going. I don't care about that, but the way they did it, the way they had Styles just beat the crap out of Shane McMahon in the parking lot. I thought looked really cool. Daniel Bryan fired him. I thought made sense. So I actually thought this was pretty good stuff. Then we had the next match. It was Mojo Rawley versus Dolph Ziggler. I didn't really care about this match at all. So pretty much Mojo Rawley keeps throwing Dolph Ziggler over the top rope, and this pisses Ziggler off, so he just walks out of the match and leaves. That was really the whole match. And they're trying to hype this up because since Mojo Rawley's in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, she's like, oh, if that happens to Ziggler, he could get eliminated. And then Ziggler just leave. It didn't really make any sense. He turned heel because he was losing, and then he just caused himself to lose. I mean, Dolph Ziggler he's like one of the top guys on Smackdown, and he's being treated like shit. And he's pretty much turned heel for no reason. Like his heel turn, like he was actually better off being a babyface. I mean, he was like him and the Miz at No Mercy have the great match for the IC title. And then all of a sudden he wins, and then he loses the title. And then he was in the WWE title match, and now he's losing to guys like Kalisto, Apollo Crews, and Mojo Rawley. Like, he turned heel when he's still losing. Like, the point of his heel turn was because he was losing, but yet he's still losing. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, there was no point of Ziggler turning heel. And he still sometimes comes out like a babyface, and he talks like a babyface. Why is he a heel? So then Neville's backstage, and he cuts a promo talking about how people are going to be, how there's a fatal 5-way match that I talked about earlier in this video. And Neville says that whoever wins faces him for the Cruiserweight title, but in reality, all the others are another victim, and they're going to be bowing down to the king of the Cruiserweights. I actually did like this promo here. It was good. It was a good way to hype up that match. And then the next segment is the Viper addresses Bray Wyatt. So Randy Orton comes out, and he says that Vipers are like snake. They wait for the right moment to strike, and he did just that. He says he realizes it was going to take more than just an RKO to vanquish Bray Wyatt. So he turned on him and joined him, and he made Bray Wyatt think he was one of them. And he says that he felt, I can't really explain with a word. He said that he felt the venom of the Viper growing deeper. And he says eventually when it came down time to turn on him, screw him. And then he says that he burned down everything that he burned down Bray Wyatt's power, and he took Sister Abigail, and now Bray Wyatt's just a broken man. And he says that the journey isn't over until WrestleMania, when he takes the WWE Championship from him. And then Bray Wyatt comes on the screen, and he says that I'm standing at where Sister Abigail was put to rest, or at least what's left of it. And he says that Sister Abigail isn't dead. He says that she flows through him, and she's the spirit of Satan. And he says that he's going to baptize himself into Sister Abigail's ashes. So he takes the dirt and he smothers it all over himself. And he says, follow the buzzards. And then he screams. So I actually did like this. I hope it happened. And I thought this made Bray Wyatt look like he's still strong going into WrestleMania. And I do like the storyline between Orton and Wyatt. Even though it's really weird because Orton's the babyface and Wyatt's the heel. Even though, like I said, Orton burnt down his house, and yet he's a babyface somehow, so it's weird. But yeah, I did like this segment, and I liked Randy Orton. Like I said, I liked the explanation that Orton gave. It made sense, even though it makes Bray Wyatt look stupid because Daniel Bryan did the same thing 3 years ago, and it doesn't make any sense. So then I believe we have the next segment. It was the Baron Corbin interview, and he says that he talks about how Dean Ambrose is a guy that always comes up, And he says he has to learn that you can't just go around challenging people to a fight. You have to learn that there's consequences. And he says that if Dean Ambrose can make it to WrestleMania, he's going to take everything from him, his Intercontinental Championship, and he says that he's going to take his health and he's going to put down Dean Ambrose for good. So that's pretty much setting up the IC title match for WrestleMania. Completely fine with that. So then we had the main event match on the show. It was a tag team match. It was American Alpha versus the Usos. I did like the match, but throughout the match, they kept showing Shane McMahon backstage. At first, he was going to leave the arena, and then eventually, later on in the match, it shows him saying, "No, I'm going back to the arena." I didn't think it was bad. It actually was believable, but it kind of took away the focus of the match and the performers in the ring, and it just kind of makes it look like the Smackdown tag titles aren't important. They're just kind of there, so I didn't really like that too much. But American Alpha dominated the first half of the matchup, and then the Usos one of the Usos hits a body slam on him, and they go to jump on him, but then American Alpha are both standing right there, so the Usos decide to back away, and then eventually the Usos get the hit on Jason Jordan. They beat the crap out of him. Chad Gable gets the hard tag. He starts going off on him, and then they go to hit the Doomsday device on one of the Usos, but the other Uso pushes Chad Gable off, and then with the referee's distracted, one of the Usos super kicks Jason Jordan, the other one pins him for the win. So this makes sense because this sets up a SmackDown tag title match between American Alpha and the Usos. It was nice to see the SmackDown tag team champions on the show. I don't even remember the last time they were on the show. I think it's been about 2 weeks since we've actually seen them. Because I know they weren't on the show last week, but I don't remember if they were on the show a couple of weeks ago. I know it feels like it's been a while, so I was happy to see them at least doing something on this show. But I definitely think the SmackDown tag titles are being diminished to the pre-show because it doesn't really feel like they've really built it up too much. And then at the end of the night, Shane McMahon is walking backstage. He walks to the production and he asks for a microphone, and he says, "So AJ Styles wants an opponent at WrestleMania, huh? Well, he's got one." So that pretty much means he's going to be facing AJ Styles at WrestleMania. That makes sense. I don't really care about the match. I think AJ Styles... I'm not saying that Shane McMahon's not good, but AJ Styles deserved a better opponent just because of the fact that he wrestled... He should be in the title match, or at least in a more of a featured match. This match is still going to get as a featured match because he is technically working with the Sun, but it's like the way they kind of went about setting up this match was really weird. If Shane McMahon should have been facing anybody, he should have been facing The Miz, just because, The Miz and Daniel Bryan have had a feud, and The Miz can keep poking Daniel Bryan's buttons, and he realizes he can't do anything about it, so then Daniel Bryan's like, "Hey, why doesn't Shane McMahon come in here and fight for me?" And then that's a storyline right there. And it's just kind of weird the way they went about setting this up. So it's weird. Now, I'm not going to give my total thoughts on SmackDown yet because I still got to watch Talking Smack, so I'm going to go watch that. Then I'll give you my review of that, and then my final thoughts of SmackDown. Okay, so next we had Talking Smack. We had the panel of Renee Young and Daniel Bryan. And one thing I thought that was kind of funny was Daniel Bryan was talking about the AJ Styles Shane McMahon feud. First he said, "I don't understand why he's so mad at Shane McMahon because he vouched for him to become the number one contender to the WWE Championship. So then why is he so mad at Shane?" It didn't really make any sense. And then the other things he talks about was the way that AJ Styles went about it. He got upset just because he didn't get the main event at WrestleMania and he went and attacked the boss. Well, I know this is all a storyline and everything. Daniel Bryan, you lost your opportunities to main event WrestleMania. In fact, you lost your right to win the WWE Championships a handful of times from Randy Orton back in 2013. And you had lost the Elimination Chamber match that year. You weren't going to main event WrestleMania that year. But yet you didn't accept it really either. In fact, you actually had fans hijack set show so that way you can get a match at WrestleMania. And in fact, you actually defeated you actually pretty much invaded a match you had no business being in. I know technically you won your match the night before, but technically you didn't really have the right to main event WrestleMania. Sorry. Now I'm not saying this that I believe this stuff. I'm just saying this looking at it from the way Daniel Bryan's perspective. Another thing that Daniel Bryan said is when he talked about the whole Shane McMahon situation, how Shane McMahon could have been just out of it after getting attacked, so he wasn't right to make WrestleMania main event decisions. However, Shane McMahon says that Daniel Bryan says that Shane McMahon, he's down here, Shane McMahon's up here when it comes to like who makes the matches. Then how come when Shane McMahon wanted to have AJ Styles fight for the WWE Championship, how come the match wasn't just made? I mean, pretty much you wanted Randy Orton to fight for the WWE title, but Shane McMahon wanted AJ Styles, so why wasn't AJ Styles fighting for the WWE title? Daniel Bryan should have had no say in set situation. I'm just saying. But anyhow, that was that. I just kind of wanted to get that out of the way. But I'm just quoting what you said, Daniel, and using it against you. So, but they talked about that for a while. And then we had a interview segment with Mickie James, and she talks about how her and Alexa Bliss had a deal that if she helped her become SmackDown Women's Champion going into WrestleMania, that she would give her a title shot. And she did follow through with that deal. And she talks about how she expected Alexa Bliss to turn on her because there's no friends of this business, but she didn't expect it to happen as soon as it did. And then she talks about how, since WrestleMania this year is on April 2nd, April 2nd is a special day for her because it was on that day in 2006 she had won her first women's championship. And she said that she works to tie the record for most women's titles. The person that holds that record currently is Trish Stratus. She has 7. She's has a chance to tie it if she wins the SmackDown Women's title at WrestleMania, but I don't think she will. So then she gets cut off by Carmella, and Carmella talks about how she didn't even make the biggest impact. She made the biggest impact because she laid out 2 top contenders on tonight, and she says that she's wearing gold, and she says that she's going to be wearing the SmackDown Women's title around her waist. Natalya comes up and says that she has been the face and the pioneer and the coach of the women's division, and she said that she drove Mickie James out of the WWE the first time. And then Becky Lynch comes up and talks about how she gets jumped all the time by everybody. She says Renee Young may end up joining in with it. And then she talks about how she defeated Natalya tonight, but Natalya makes excuses saying that she had food poisoning. Alexa Bliss comes up and says that this is what Daniel Bryan caused. He's caused a bunch of chaos. And Becky Lynch says that, Alexa Bliss talked about how she's the only person ever to be a 2-time SmackDown Women's Champion, how she's beaten a Becky Lynch a handful of times, and then they all pretty much just bicker at each other. I actually thought it was quite nice. Becky Lynch says that Alexa Bliss looks like an elf that works for Santa Claus. Becky Lynch says that she looks like a jack-o'-lantern from Halloween, which I thought was pretty funny. And they pretty much just all kind of talk shit to each other. I thought it was fine to kind of build up to the schmoz, even though I don't really care for the fact that they built it up to the schmoz of a match, because that's all it is. It's just a schmoz. And that was pretty much the only thing that happened on Talking Smack. The rest of the time, they pretty much talked about the angle between John Cena and Nikki Bella and The Miz and Maurice. And that was about it. But overall, I actually did like Talking Smack. It was okay to sit down and watch, so... Yes, it wasn't as good as it has been, but this was still a pretty good episode of Talking Smack. So overall, I actually really enjoyed SmackDown. I thought it was a really good show. I enjoyed the segment the stuff they did with AJ Styles and Shane McMahon. AJ Styles cutting that great promo, laying him out backstage, and then Shane McMahon coming out at the end of the night. I did like how they tell that story. I liked the Miz TV segment. I liked the women's matches on this show. And the tag match I thought was good. Even though it was kind of ruined, by the Shane McMahon stuff. I just still thought the tag team match was good. I liked the Viper addressing Bray Wyatt. I liked that. And I did like Neville's promo, but that doesn't really count. That's not really anything. The only thing I could think of I really hated was the Dolph Ziggler Mojo Rawley match. That's the only thing I really hated. So SmackDown I thought was a really good show. If I had to rate it, I'm gonna rate it a 8 out of 10. The leads, even though I liked everything, it's just like I said, I don't care about a lot of this stuff going into WrestleMania. I don't care about that SmackDown Women's Title schmoz. Don't care about the mixed tag team match. Um, don't care about really the um, Shane versus AJ Styles. I think AJ Styles deserves a better match. Um, the only match I can really think about on SmackDown that I really truly care about is probably Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton, and that match is just all fucked up in itself. So yeah, so yeah, so it's like they're building up to matches I don't care about, and even though they're good, it's just not anything special. Like I don't know. So yeah, that was SmackDown for this week though. I thought overall really good show. Okay, so overall, SmackDown ended up winning this week. I didn't actually give Raw a rating, so I'll do that now. I think I thought, from what I remember, I said it was a good show, so I think I thought Raw was a 7 out of 10, and Raw was an 8, and SmackDown was an 8 out of 10. I just thought SmackDown was better. I thought they did a better job building up to WrestleMania. Raw, I thought did an okay job, just not as good as SmackDown. Um, but yeah, WrestleMania, still not looking all that forward to it. Maybe not. I'll say this: I feel very mad going into WrestleMania because um, these matches actually I think will deliver. I have the card up here right now. I'm trying not to look at that cruiserweight title match because I actually am about to go watch 205 live, so I don't really want to look at that. But we have the WWE Championship match between Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton. Why that's the title match, I don't know. If this was just a one-on-one match, that'd be fine. Um, this match I actually do have some interest in because it does have some storyline progression. It has they this is a storyline they've been building, I believe, since September. So but they've kind of rushed it in a way because they just randomly thrown the title in here. So, but it does have a lot of story. Goldberg, Brock Lesnar does have a lot of storyline, but it's two part-timers fighting for the championship, and it's a match I didn't want to see at Survivor Series, a match I didn't want to see at all, and it's for the title at WrestleMania. So, Undertaker Roman Reigns, I actually do want to see that match. Um, I originally didn't, but with what they've been doing with Roman Reigns lately, and the way that what could come out of this match, I actually am looking forward to. Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens for the U.S. title. I'm actually looking forward to that match a lot. It's probably as a storyline standpoint and as like the way they've been building it up, it's the match I'm looking forward to the most. But Taker and Reigns is probably the match I'm looking forward to the most. So I'm actually looking forward to the U.S. title match on the show. The mixed tag team match I could give less of a fucks about. The Raw Women's title match, don't care about it. It's a mess. It should have been a one-on-one match with Charlotte Flair versus somebody where somebody comes out and beats Charlotte Flair and ruins her SmackDown her record. So then we have the schmoz of a SmackDown Women's title match that I don't give a fuck about at all. We have the Raw Tag Team title match that I'll admit I actually am interested in, but the problem with this match is I'm not interested in the champ. The champions are just there. The storyline is actually really between Enzo and Cass and Cesaro and Sheamus. So, and Shane McMahon and AJ Styles is decently interesting, but AJ Styles I thought could have had. I definitely think deserved a different match at WrestleMania. I wanted him to have a different spot, so it's kind of like eh. But I mean, I can't really complain about it too much because he is working with the son. He is working with like the son of the chairman of the board. He's working with the boss's son, so he is gonna get like some decent exposure. It's just I don't know. I thought the AJ Styles deserved a better match in a sense, and it's just kind of thrown together in a way too. A lot of this that's how I feel about a lot of it. And the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal is what it is. It's a battle royal. I mean, they don't have a lot of guys really announced for it yet. I believe it's just Mojo Rawley, Apollo Crews, Big Show, and Kurt Hawkins. Big fucking deal. Um, so yeah, this WrestleMania card looks very meh. I have some interest in these matches, and I don't. So it's what it is. I just really disappointed with how WrestleMania turned out. I thought WrestleMania could have been really good, but they fucked it up. They fucked it up ever since the Royal Rumble, and then They put the Universal on Goldberg for no fucking reason. Then they put the title on Bray Wyatt out of nowhere. I still think that mixed tag team match is totally the brainchild of John Cena and Nikki Bella. And then they kind of ruined the Raw Women's title match by having Charlotte Flair lose her pay-per-view streak. That's just dumb. The SmackDown Women's title matches are small. If anything, like I've talked about, it should have just been a triple threat between Mickie James, Becky Lynch, and Alexa Bliss, or Alexa Bliss versus Mickie James. Just saying. The Raw tag team, I'm actually fine with that match. You know, it gets both teams on the show. Everybody at least has a story. I just kind of hate the fact that it doesn't really feel like Gallows and Anderson are really a big part of the feud. But I had to say the match I'm looking forward to on the Raw. It's Taker Roman Reigns, even though Taker's technically not on Raw, but you get what I'm saying. This match, but the match on SmackDown side is probably Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt. But yeah, I'm just really not looking forward. WrestleMania just looks very mad this year. I'll admit, they've done a better job building up to this show than I thought they were going to. But yeah, it's just a really weird build up. But that's pretty much it, guys. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channels. Wrestling Fortune 44, I'm going to be uploading my 205 Live review on there, so check that out. And make sure to check out my Owen the Talkinator channel and check out this channel for more content as well. Sorry this video ended up getting up late, but I just was really busy and couldn't get the video up when I wanted to, so I apologize for that. But that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later. Subscribe to this channel as well.